It's here. Good morning. Welcome all to the fourth meeting of the Charter Review Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Ms. Bonner, will you call the roll, please? Madam Clerk?
Ms. Bacchus.
Present.
Mr. Cody.
Ms. Cody, present.
Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole is absent to attend the graduation of his daughter from the Navy.
Coleman. Okay.
Present.
Fouché.
Present.
McCorn.
Present.
Pearson.
Present.
Powell.
Present.
Turnley.
Present.
Wilhelmy.
Present.
Wimberly.
Present.
Thank you.
If all of you will turn your attention to the minutes of May 1st, please. Has everyone had a moment to take a look through these? If not, let's take about 20 seconds and scan through it if you would. Are there any changes or additions to these minutes that we would like to include? Mr. Powell, I think you have your light on. Did you want to add?
Oh, sorry,
No worries. Could we have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Make a motion, accept.
second.
Okay, Mr. Fouché and Mr. Powell,
Okay, who made the motion?
or Charlie.
Coleman.
Okay.
Thank you. And who seconded Mr. Powell? Okay.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Go ahead and vote.
Were we going to let them vote?
Yep, we're going to let them vote.
Yes. Thank you.
Lena, I know it's a hard horse to ride, but you're doing great.
Okay, Mr. Pearson. You trying? Okay. So,
Yes, I'm trying.
okay. That motion carries with Mr. Cole out.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Ms. Bonner, do we have people that have signed up to render public comments this morning?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Well, I didn't ask if anyone who didn't previously send theirs in, so can you ask if
Yes.
they?
Is there anybody in the audience that had not signed up through the county system since we have not endorsed that today? Mr. Todd would like to. Anyone else? Nope. Mr. Todd is the sole person that has not done that.
Okay, so we'll add Mr. Todd.
Okay.
Okay. I think we have Mr. Hassan, Mr. Marion Williams, and Mr. Todd.
Very good. Mr. Hassan, will you please address the body? Also, as he's coming up, if you all will take a moment to go ahead and turn your phones off,
Did I say Williams?
as our
Okay.
previous thing had,
Williams.
our previous vote had accommodated. And let me get this out so I can keep track of what I'm. That's a question. That's a good question, too.
You can put your phone on airplane mode.
Okay. All right. With the blessing of the commission, I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode so I can clock these, and I'll turn them off as soon as we're done with public comments. Bear with me one second. What airplane mode? Here we go.
Ready, Madam Chair?
All right, I am. Mr. Hassan,
Okay.
welcome.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. No, it's still
We
10
need
o'clock. I'm
name
thinking
and
about 12
address.
o'clock already.
Name and address for the.
Ben
record, please.
Hassan, 3529 Monte Carlo Drive. Thank you all for allowing me once again an opportunity to address this very deliberate body. My comments this morning to be reference to just to inform Madam Chair and others that Madam Chair, I done an open records request for your minutes in terms of your email in terms of sending out to the body,
Yes.
letting them know that undue pressure had been put on you all in certain regards and things of that nature. And so I did that, and I can tell you, in looking at what you said, it was being presented or being said, I was appalled. Being appalled because once again, you all are a subcommittee based on the establishment by the commission. You're not established by the legislative body. I think all of you all, as I look in your faces, I think all of you have been part of organizations or entities, and you've been a part of boards. And I think, and with that, many of those boards have had subcommittees. And you all know that those subcommittees answers and responds and take their findings back to the board. And the establishment of this board is the Augusta Commission at the end of the day. And I would just hope and pray they'll be mindful of that. Also, not only that, just for clarity purposes, I think because it gets so convoluted in many ways, that I would encourage you all to go back and just ask one simple question. Ask each commissioner before the body, what was the intentions of establishing this committee? Did you all expect for us to bring our findings back to you all? I think that's a legitimate question for me. Also, what disturbs me was the timeline. I tried to go back and look at the time that Ms. Brill first came here to the city of Augusta to bring Carl Vinson Institute on board. I could not find hers, but I was able to find a gentleman on November the 26th of last year. And one of the things that was asked of him, that one of the questions that Commissioner Sean Franklin asked him, said, hey, how long does it take to do this? About how long? He said, I think Ms. Brill had mentioned this as well much earlier, approximately up to about 18 months. But he said, however, he's like, the mayor wants me to do it in 12 months. And we'll try. We may can get it done, but we'll try. Now, that was based on the 12 month, if you would have gotten started in January of this year. As everybody here knows, you didn't get started up until April, mid-April. So now you went from 18 months to less than 6 or 7 months to do the same body of work. That is unfair to you, is unfair to Carl Vinson Institute, and is unfair to the community. Because this is something, this is our heart, our soul, our community is at stake. And the rush through this because of political expedience, I think is doing you all a disservice, and I think in many ways you're being used as a political pawn. And I think that is a disservice to you all. And so I encourage you all, and not only that, they moved the timeline. Once they know they didn't stand in January. They said in March of 26. So why let them rush you all? Why? You all need to stop responding to that. You are an independent body on the behalf of Augusta Commission. And that's what you all should be looking at this. And that's what I encourage you all to do. Madam Chair, also another thing that I must say, that you've mentioned in that multiple charters have been presented to yourself or to the body, as well as our charter has to be looked at. Our consolidation bill has to be looked at. And the last time that was done was in 2001. And I would encourage you all, please, if you're going to study anything, study their comments and study their findings. Because what they said has become, since that time, and if time permits, or you have questions, I can give you examples of what I'm about to read to you. They were very prophetic in what they said. Here's one of the things that was most telling for them. They said, since our meetings were open to the public, you're most likely aware that our committee spent a significant portion of our time addressing race relation issues. I believe, without exception, that each of us would acknowledge that this is the most daunting obstacle facing our community. It is an impediment to our economic growth, as well as our general advancement in a number of other areas that are critical to the quality of life. Therefore, we strongly urge the establishment of a Race Relations Committee as outlined in our report. And then they go on to say who they wish to be involved. Why is that important? That is important because as you're looking at these documents, none of those documents none of those documents is going to resolve that issue. Okay.
If you would, please. If you would like to share, so that we can share with the rest of the committee your comments from 2001, we're more than delighted to receive that and put that in the record. And I would appreciate that.
So so does that preclude if there are any questions when you say 5 minutes? Because the
does.
Augusta Commission does, if you make 5 minutes for the delegation, if there are questions, you are allowed to entertain the questions if they're from the body.
Mr. Kimberly?
I believe this is Wimberley. This is Wimberley. There you go.
Bless you.
Madam Chair, may I address the speaker? Mr. Hassan,
Yes, sir.
high in depth of those statements you were just reading, what's the length of it?
That statement I just read, that statement is probably about 2 or 3 more lines. But I think what's more important is that examples are given to show that race has played a part in all of this. And as you embark upon this charter, to see that and believe and of the mindset that you're going to make a better community, I'm here to tell you it's not going to happen.
What are some of the examples?
Some of those examples are, this was 2001 that we are talking about. In 2011, there was the Augusta Commission attempted to revise their personnel and policy procedure manual. There had 6 white commissioners at the time. In the process of doing that, they attempted to put in there and change the administrator and give the administrator hiring and firing power to change a managerial style of government. They were challenged by a number of people as a result of that, trying to change the government by changing the personnel policy procedure manual. So as they were called on it, they eventually walked it back by way of lawsuits and things of that nature. They walked it back. We look at when we come into, we came, we look at when we came into 2016 or 2020, no sooner time we get 6 black commissioners and a black mayor, then all of a sudden the charter needs to be changed. Before then, you didn't see that. We look at the redistricting committee that I was a part of. The redistricting committee, we had a map. We had a map that came down from the Georgia redistricting body. They redistrict all of Georgia based on population growth and shifts. They sent us that. We changed absolutely nothing and sent it back. And as a result of that, there were certain aspects of the community that said we wanted to succeed from Richmond County because they didn't like it, and we done nothing to it. It was Georgia's hand on
Mr.
it.
Hassan?
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like you to submit what you're referring to and any additional commentary by email to me, and I will make sure it makes it into the minutes and make sure this committee receives it.
Thank you, ma'am.
May we reserve the right to call you back to serve as a subject matter expert on this in the future?
You can call me back. I know about being an expert, though. Thank you, ma'am.
History is often informative.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, now, is this Mr. Williams or Reverend Williams?
Yes, ma'am. Reverend James Williams.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Clerk
Morning.
and Madam Chairwoman.
Would you please, for Ms. Bonner's sake? Would you please, for Ms. Bonner's sake, state your name and your address?
Yes, my name is James Williams, and I live at 3408 Pine Hill Road, Hesper.
Thank you. If you're ready, I'll start the clock.
First of all, let me thank you all for allowing me to come before you this morning. And if I may, just for a moment, some of the things that Mr. Hassan alluded to, I just so happen to have been a part of some of those issues, and especially the one where the county was challenged in their efforts to make a personnel policy change. I was one of the plaintiffs who brought that to the citizen. I come to you this morning to encourage you and to bring to your attention an observation from your previous meetings that is concerning to the citizens who will be affected by the decisions of what you have been tasked to do, and we all know what that is. As a reminder, that is to review the Consolidation Act House Bill 805, that consolidated the two governing bodies for Augusta Richmond County in 1996. Should there be any recommendation changes to its governance? If I may, I remind you that when the initial development of the creation of this Consolidation Act took place, it was methodically and carefully thought out with ample time and consideration from those involved to make sure that the concerns of all citizens and the community would be fair, equitable, and acceptable. You too are now tasked with that same charge that was done then. This brings me to the reason that I'm here. First of all, there is no reason to be hasty about this process. In a previous meeting of yours, it was said that you will be through in 6 months. Who instructed you to be through for this task in 6 months? Might I add, rather, that the Carl Vinson Institute told the commission who appointed you to this committee that the review process would take 12 to 18 months. That was their words. In all fairness to the citizens, any less time would be an injustice. It would be an injustice to all, even yourselves. Don't let it be said that you were irrational, self-serving in your efforts. Therefore, don't feel the need to be hasty. I admonish you to apply wisdom to this work. In all that you do, there is a proverbial saying that we all have heard of, and it says, haste makes waste. In other words, those who are hasty in their words, action, decision often fall into error. Don't be a victim of this error. And lastly, careful planning, diligent work leads to success and prosperity. It shows the importance of thoughtful action, avoiding rash decision making. When you think about the many forms of government and how they function and considering what is best for Augusta, Richmond County, you must be prepared for a much longer time than what's been suggested. So be fair to the citizens and all concerned that there is no urgency, that there is no urgency. And I will hope that the words that I say to you today and the previous word of Mr. Hassan will ring in your ears nightly, because this is not an easy task. You are going to affect thousands of people that live in Augusta, Richmond County. You're going to affect their lives, all about everything about their whole livelihood that you're going to affect in your decision making. So you have the awesome task of, one, giving them and allowing them to let you do what will affect them for the rest of the duration as long as this document lasts. So don't be hasty. I know people talk to you. I know you hear, but you have to make your own decision personally about how you want to act. And you should act in the interest of the citizens of Richmond County. Amen?
Amen.
Any questions?
Thank you for your words.
Thank you.
Any comments, anybody? All right, thank you. Mr. Todd, can you state your name and address for Ms. Bonner, please?
Yes, Madam Chairman. My name is Moses Todd, 2749 Deansbridge Road, representing Isle of Augusta. Madam Chairman, I wrote an open letter to the CRC and emailed it to you, and I understand that the phones must be off, or the computers, tablets must be off. So I will attempt to read my comments. Open letter to the Augusta Richmond County Charter Review Committee. May I introduce myself? I am former Commissioner Moses Todd,
The voters give me the privilege to serve on the Richmond County Board of Commissioners and the Augusta Richmond County Commission. On the subject matter of consolidation, I lived in consolidated Columbus, Muskogee County, Georgia, from 1992 to 1978. Debated Augusta Richmond County consolidation, 1980 to 1994, on the opposing side. Led a delegation of Harvard University graduate students to the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights/Voting Rights Division, Section 3 and 5, to oppose consolidation 1998. Served on the Consolidation Citizens Committee 1995, facilitated by the late Dr. Ralph Walker. Worked on the Consolidation Transition Task Force managed by the late Mr. William H. Bill Kostoppin, 1996. This work included merging the city-county ordinance and consolidation legislation into the new Augusta Richmond County Charter. Commissions that voted to approve the 1996 charter and a strong form of commission government was Jerry Brigham, J.B. Powell, Freddie Handy. This is the members of the first elected body under consolidation. Freddie Handy, Rob Zitterberg, the late Willie Mays, the late Henry Brigham, the late Lee Beard, Alma Bridges, Bill Cokie, Commissioner Bill Cokie, and myself. Larry Scunions did not support a strong commission form of government. Under home rule, a supermajority can change any ordinance that's part of the charter that's not legislative law. Legislative law need to go to the local legislative delegation from the Augusta Commission to be changed. My advice to the Augusta Charter Review Committee, if it's not broke, don't fix it. In other words, do not remove the guardrails and create a strong mayor form of government that could abuse the taxpayers' finances. We all know why we're here as a consolidated government. The background is the city of Augusta basically went broke, and the county government had to bail them out because we had a strong mayor form of government that deceived the taxpayers and citizens of Augusta Richmond County. The beneficial side for the county was that we would have a more efficient, streamlined government that would save the taxpayers' money, and that we would gain the water resources from the old city government. Some of that has come true, and some of it is not. It was a fairy tale, basically, most of it. I relied during my time serving on the transition committee and merging the two governments on the National Civic League that's been around since 1896. I would advise the committee to go to their webinar and listen to it. They are the subject matter experts on putting together charter members. Thank you for your time, Madam Chairman and members. I understand the task before you. It's a very difficult one. It's important that we create a charter that if we're going to change anything, that it's in the best interest of the local government. The charter is our constitution. Thank you again.
Mr. Todd. Chair acknowledges Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Todd, you were talking about the consolidation back when the city and the county consolidated. I'd like to bring up and I know you know this, prior to consolidation, there was an attempt for the city to annex parts of the county. They were going after the west side because they were broke. They spent most of their money on the Riverwatch. I participated heavily with politics during that time with the firefighters union. We basically fought against annexation because we thought it was unfair. You were only going to take the money tax-paying part of the county. We pushed for consolidation, okay? Now, as an individual on this board, one of my key things that I'm looking at is since consolidation, in my definition of it, we consolidated to save money, to streamline, to put departments together. I have seen where we have created, in my opinion, unnecessary departments, and departments are top-heavy. And for the benefit of the taxpayers of Augusta Richmond County, I feel it's important that we, as a body, look at things and try to streamline what it costs to run the government. And that's basically what I wanted to add to that. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
If I may respond, comment,
You may.
Madam Chairman. Yes, and we also have two tax districts, urban and suburban. And I would hope that you would look at, the finance committee, if you have one, that you would look at that and possibly, if we're consolidated, then we should have one tax, one millage rate, not two service districts.
Thank you. Mr. Coleman, excuse me, Powell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Todd, I'd like to say thank you for your service to the community. And I know that you were involved in a lot of things when you were on the commission. Personally, I can't speak for the entire committee, but a stronger mayor type of government would need checks and balances to make sure that we did not have a rogue mayor. And I think the committee somewhere down the line is probably going to have to look at some type of checks and balances as to how the local government is run. I don't think at this point we have that. And I think that if they were in place and they had the power to regulate what happens through the mayor's office or even a department head's office, then they would be able to be reined in and controlled, whereas right now I don't think that we have that ability. So I do appreciate you coming before this body, and I certainly do appreciate your service and continued interest in how the government functions at this point. Thank you, Mr. Todd.
Madam Chairman, if I may respond. We have checks and balances. It may not be the ones that everybody desire. The checks and balance is the commission. It takes us 6 commissioners to approve anything. Then it goes to the mayor's office, the clerk's office first. The resolution is stamped with the city seal and signed by the clerk. Then it goes to the mayor's office and he executes it. So that's why we can't, that we have the checks now that controls a rogue mayor. Hopefully we never have one. But that's my thoughts on that. Someone testified, I believe it was the administrator, that they had 11 bosses. When I was on the commission, if I walked in the administrator's office and told her I was her boss, Linda Beasley, she would have laughed me out of the office or kicked me out of the office. The administrator have 6 bosses in the sense that it takes a majority to pass a resolution to give her an order to do something, or a letter with 6 signatures on it that could give her the orders to do something. So I think the checks and balances is there. It may not be the ones that's desired by all factions.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. Mr. Coleman, did you have a second comment?
Yes, I had a follow-up question, and this is for Madam Chair. Is there any way possible that we can, in the future meeting, have somebody from the tax commissioner's office come up and explain to us why we have two different tax districts and make sure that it's equitable and fair across the entire county?
I think that would be a wise move, and I think virtually everybody on this committee would agree with that. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Thank you, Mr. Todd. And I also want to acknowledge Ms. Bacchus. I'm going to get it straight.
Mr. Todd, I had a question for you. I'm sorry, sir. So when Mr. Powell was referencing checks and balances, you mentioned the administrator and her role, whether she has 11 bosses or 6. One of the things that she did discuss with us at the last meeting was that she has to do performance reviews. Normally, the person who does performance reviews also has the authority to take the next step, whatever that is, based upon the review. And I think that, if I am guessing correctly, is what you were referring to, Mr. Powell, as far as checks and balances. So if she does a performance review and she finds that somebody is doing horrible at their job, she has no authority to take action.
I disagree, Madam Chairman. May I respond? I disagree. She have the, her next course would be to take it to the commission and get a vote up or down to terminate the person or to disciplinary the person or to give the person classes to improve their situation to do a better job, like anywhere else in industry. The board of directors don't run the company, but the board of directors, tell the CEO what to do. The board of directors is the guardrails there. So, I'm a moderate. Conservatives wants to see a strong administrative manager, form of government, a strong mayor. I think that if we look at Bell, California, if you're not familiar with it, then please Google them or dig up the court records. That whole government basically went to jail because they ignored the guardrails. And we certainly don't want to ever be a Bell, California. And, hopefully with Georgia's sunshine laws that we won't never be. But those are my comments on that.
So I just have a follow-up, if I can. I know the Augusta Press had written an article recently talking about how many departments right now don't have permanent department heads. So we have a multitude of open, higher-level positions that are being temporarily filled by people. We just had an interim administrator for 3 years. So when you talk about guardrails and the checks and balances already being in place, what would you do to remedy that? Because, again, whether it's 6 or 11 bosses, we still have all of these open vacancies, which means our government is not running the way it was intended to because we don't have people in those positions.
Yes.
So what would you do in that instance?
I would say to TAP and to other media that thrives on this Augusta Richmond County Commission on following it and criticizing it, and the Augusta group here in Richmond County to maybe do a little PR, versus always criticizing. I could, that's not a Augusta National, but we don't criticize our greatest revenue assets in Augusta Richmond County ever, but we criticize the Augusta Richmond County Commission, and it was that way when I was there in the old commission. So I think that we need to do better PR, and that folks, we got to have an atmosphere and a work atmosphere where folks wants to come here instead of being beat up by a media, whether it's a TAP or the old Augusta Chronicle, for their special interests.
Just for the record, I actually didn't think that that was a mean-spirited article at all. It was just going through and stating, these are the departments that don't currently have a department head in those positions. So I didn't think it was controversial at all. I just was curious if
Yes.
you talked about guardrails being in place. So if you were to build new guardrails to prevent this from being a problem moving forward, what would those guardrails be?
May I ask that we table this until we get to that topic, because it's going to be much deeper than Mr. Todd and
Okay.
Reverend Williams and a lot of other people. It's a very large portion of the topic, and I think it probably deserves its own meeting.
And Madam Chairman, again, I would encourage the members to go to the National Civic League. They've been around doing this work since 1896.
National
Civic League.
Civic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And that's who I went to in 95, 96. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the comments. Madam Clerk, were there any other speakers?
Yes, ma'am. We have Reverend Marion Williams.
All right. Any others beyond that?
Not that were sent in. I didn't
Okay.
poll
Very good.
the attendees out.
Reverend Williams, welcome back. And can you please state your name and
Marion Williams, 1941 Crather Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30906.
thank you.
Thank you for allowing me, Madam Chairman. Thank you for this committee. Listen to former Commissioner Todd, and I thought he was in my head for a few minutes. He said exactly what I would have said about every issue you asked him about, because I too dealt with this for 16 years. Let me say this, I've got a list of questions I'd like to get to, because but anytime you're going to ask me something, I'm open for that. There's no time limit on me. But when you look at this committee, my question would be, are we looking at the charter, or are we looking at the consolidation? Because I think they're two separate, different issues. And I need to know from which we are gathering to discuss. When you look at the charter, when you Google and see what a charter is, or what a city charter is, it's being on record and being identified as the designated area for that. The consolidation bill is totally different. When we consolidated, because we had a county and a city, and one
We
was
are
going.
dealing with the charter.
Okay, and that's a good clarity. I want to make sure that I was going to call on my legal attorney to make sure that he knew that we was dealing with one or the other. The other thing is, and I got here a little bit late. I could have been here a little sooner, but I thought at the last meeting y'all decided to have the speaker to speak last after the meeting was over with, I thought. Okay, first, I apologize. I really apologize for that. The other thing is politics, Dr. McCoy, is like making sausages. You got to beat them up, you got to throw them down, you got to squeeze them, but it really tastes good on Saturday morning when you're having breakfast. Well, that's the same thing with politics, and people don't understand that. And if you've never been in this position, when you're trying to make a decision for people on every side of this community, you're going to have some for and some against. You're going to have a team who say, I'm going to hold to your stuff. I'm gonna get your stuff paid. Then you have another team that say, no, I'm going to get it back over here where it needs to be. So, that's just politics. We had someone came from D.C., Sylvia Cooper was writing for the Augusta Chronicle, and Bob Young was the mayor. He said, y'all, be careful today. He said, we got a man from D.C. going to be watching us and how we conduct business. And commission did what they normally do. They debated. They can look like they're about to go to blows, but they never went to blows. They can look like that. But they asked the gentleman that was here, what do you think about Augusta politics? What do you think about these commissions, how they act? The man simply said, all I see is politics in action. So anybody think that this is a fun job and you don't want to put the work in, you don't want to do the things you need to do, then you're in the wrong field. I didn't want to do this. I saw the trash and the debris in my community in District 2. I took a chance. I ran. I promised the people one thing. I'm going to let you know what's going on. I may not be able to change it, but you ain't going to be in the dark anymore. And I got record to prove I got a big mouth, Dr. McCoy. But I still got some issues. I got some issues, and I brought a couple of them. A couple of them is, I see we got a legal counsel sitting here this morning. And my question would be, Madam Chair, to the legal counsel, is he representing the city of Augusta as the legal counsel for this body and the commission?
I will defer to Mr. Plunkett on this, but I believe our common understanding is that as a subsidiary committee, an advisory committee, that we function at the request of the Augusta-Richmond County Commission.
The authorizing resolution said that the general counsel would serve as counsel to this body.
And I'm glad you said that. The general counsel, we got a in-house counsel, which the commission went through turmoil about that for years, and we got a and I'm thinking about, we want to save money, we want to streamline, but the rate of our attorney in this meeting, then he's going to had the same issue that you take this to the commission, and he's sitting there at that meeting too. I mean, I'm a little bit confused about that. My question would be, again, Madam Chair, is the sitting attorney, is our interim attorney doing business with either the mayor or any other elected officials?
I believe that was acted upon by the Augusta-Richmond County Commission, that he is here at their request.
But my question was, he's here at their request. My question was, is he doing business with any elected official and being the official?
I have to defer to Mr. Plunkett on that.
Madam Chair, first I would say that that's irrelevant to the issue today, but I'd be more than happy to respond to Reverend Williams as no, I don't do business with any of the commissioners.
Okay, I said elected official, not commissioner. Elected official was my terminology I think I used.
Mr. Williams, can I ask that any questions that are not resolved as of this point be committed to in writing so we can present it to everyone, since we're out of time? I'm happy to have answers, but if you know how to reach me, we can get that sent out.
Madam Chair, if I can respond to you then.
Sure.
What Mr. Tarter just said earlier, and what we're talking about now is so important that we get 5 minutes to discuss issues this important with people who got a history, who knows about this kind of stuff. Now, someone who didn't know wouldn't know to ask that question. And my attorney did not answer that question. And there's a reason he did not answer it. My grandfather, Dr. McCoy, said, he asked me a question. I said, why you always ask me a question? He said, I know the answer before I ask you. I'm going to see your answer going to match mine. And I learned that from my grandfather, and I appreciate that. But I'm going to yield. I just think there's some issues that we have not addressed that need to be addressed in this body before we go any further. Since we're only looking at the charter now, it was stated, we got to worry about the consolidation.
If you can hold on for just 1 second, let the chair acknowledges Mr. Powell.
Commissioner Williams, again, thank you for your 16 years of service to the community. I have been fortunate enough to witness you talking about a house that was overgrown for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years and nothing was done, and when you were on the commission, and you went after a place that had wooden pallets stacked up 20 feet high, as I remember. And I do appreciate you coming before this body, and you said you have a list of questions. Hopefully, you would pass those on to Madam Chair, and we might be able to address those questions in a future meeting. But again, I would like to thank you as a taxpayer for your service to Augusta-Richmond County.
May I respond to Mr. Powell?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Powell, I have a list of questions, but again, my grandfather taught me well. If I give my questions out, then you can not you, but someone can pre-answer those questions before it's necessary. Even on the commission, when I was on the board, the staff would say, what do you want today? I see you on the commission. I said, I want you to be present. If I'm gonna give you time to correct it before you get there, then I'm wasting time. This is serious business.
I believe, because we've got many others here and we've spent an hour and almost an hour in public comments at this point, I don't know that we can go through that whole list of questions right at this point. Is there something urgent that you need an answer for today? Otherwise,
Well, I need
maybe
an answer
you and I ought to go to lunch again.
from the attorney. He never answered that question. And so if I can get an answer, I would appreciate that.
Williams, I'm going through in my mind to see if there's someone that you're thinking that that's an elected official that I represent. I'm drawing a blank on anyone in my firm. You know, my firm, one of my law partners has done some work for the tax commissioner, but I don't represent the tax commissioner. I may have done some work maybe 10 years ago for that department, but I don't know of any elected official. We have done some work for the sheriff through the law department and continue to do that. I'm trying to go through of any elected officials that would be someone that you're referring to. I mean, I'm more than happy to address this. I think it's probably more appropriate offline if you want to ask me a specific individual, but to say the open-ended question of that regard, it's very difficult for me to go through. And I don't know if you're referring to me as Jim Plunkett or if you're referring to my firm. So
I'm referring to the attorney at hand, Jim Plunkett, as the interim city attorney right now. But I've got documents, Dr. Coynes. Again, I don't mean to pick on you now. I know you're new to this community, and you need to get indoctrinated real easy, real quick about how things work around here. Everything that looked like it's running ain't always running. But I've got documents, and I wouldn't have came before this board speculating. I learned that to do my homework on the commission. Any of these department heads is here will tell you that as well.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. Looks like we got another lunch coming up, friend. At this time, if I could call Dr. Facer and his crew to the podium for their presentation. Thank all of you for your comments. Thank those of the public that came to present their comments for coming. And thank you for your continued interest.
Thank you for the opportunity again to join you all. We'll have Lori Brill will answer the first, address the first item on the agenda for us, as well as talk about kind of the process that we've been going through and will continue to go through. And then we'll have Ms. Macy Lane, Smith, and Bell Tolmich do the demographic presentation. So I'll turn the time to Lori.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. The first question was the explanation of the official charter documents and enabling legislation. And the easiest way I can put it to you is that the Consolidation Act was an act that the legislature passed that authorized the merger of the two governments. There are a few things in there that normally I don't see, but that is what that act is for. The second is the charter, and that sets out the structural framework for how the government works. It is your constitution. That is the easiest way possible I can explain it. I don't know how much detail to go into. I will say that, in going through the charter with myself, I've gone through it, and Ms. Tolmich and Ms. Smith, we have found a lot of interesting things in there that we don't normally see in charters. And there's a lot in there that can be called out. That, of course, will be your decision, and it's my job to bring that forth to you to just show you what those provisions could be. It does not follow the normal pattern of the charters I see, whether they're cities, counties, or consolidated governments. I've never quite seen one with some of the provisions that are in there. That's not to say it's wrong. It's just to say that's not what I've seen. a lot of the provisions are important, but they don't necessarily belong in the charter, is what I'm trying to get to. Some of them belong in ordinances, some of them are identical to what is in the law now or the Constitution, so they have that right. It does not need to be in the charter. And so we are going through it at this point, and I kind of wanted to explain my process. We have gone through it numerous times. At this point, what we are doing is we are taking out a lot of anticipatory language. That is language where it says, if this consolidation happens and is approved and this charter is passed, then this happens. So you don't need that in there anymore. We are also taking out, like I said, provisions that are identical to, let's say, Georgia law or the Georgia Constitution, because there's no need to have that in there. The government preempts you, whether you have it in there or not. We're going through and we're modernizing language. We're looking to see what language needs to be modernized and what other technical revisions need to be done, and trying to get together the provisions that you really need to focus on. Like I said before, that is not my decision. You still have the whole charter in front of you. If there are other provisions that you feel is necessary, then we certainly can look at that. But what we're trying to do is get together those different groups in those different areas so that we can present to you them all at once. Like, here's all the anticipatory language so that you can look at it and vote on it. Here is all the things that we feel that you can just take out. You would look at it, you would decide whether you want to take it out or not, and vote on it. And so that we can get to the actual substance of the charter and determine whether or not you think certain aspects of the charter need to be changed, as far as what I see as the skeletal framework. And I do have with me, Rex has it. It's a skeletal outline. This doesn't necessarily include every little bit that should be in there. It's basically an overview of what should be in there. There are certain things under each article I show you here. You could put things under each A, B, and C. This isn't it. But I just wanted you to get a general idea of, when I'm reviewing charters, what I see in there. And I hope that this will be helpful. So these will be, hopefully, the things we will be spending the most time on, as far as debate, any changes you want made. But that will be up to you. This is just for me to give you some guidance. And when I say it doesn't follow the normal pattern, that's not to say I think it's completely wrong. It's just, this is not what I see. And you do want a charter to be somewhat streamlined, because you wouldn't want all this information in the Constitution for the U.S. That's for the, it's usually for the legislature. When they pass the laws, they elaborate more on it. And it's done that way for a reason, so. Does anyone have any questions before we get to our beautiful demographics presentation? It's very colorful.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Absolutely, Dr.
So, yeah, it may not be germane to the discussion, but I'm just curious, when you see these things that look like oddities or inconsistencies, maybe conjecture, but any idea how that might have happened? Is it lack of a Carl Vinson Institute giving them guidance in the process? Or what do you think happened there that we might keep in mind going forward?
From what I understand of the history, and I can't say this for certain, there seems like it might have been, the charter might have been put together rather quickly. And I think that they took portions from Richmond County, they took portions from Augusta. A lot of it contradicts each other. I think that if I was, and this is complete conjecture, that maybe it was just they threw everything in the kitchen sink when it didn't need to be in there. And I think that might have caused some confusion. But I'm not saying that as the truth. That's just what I can glean from what I've seen.
So the previous comments from our speakers might be a good warning to us to be very careful and judicious.
I will leave that up to you, my opinion, but yes.
It's in your hands. All right.
Hell,
Are
I've
there
worked
any
in
other
government
comments
before.
on this before Ms. Brill moves on?
And I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions. If something comes up and you have a question about it after the meeting ends, you can always funnel your questions through the chairwoman, and she will get it to us. She has a direct line into the Carl Vincent Institute. So I'd be more than happy to, and I'd be more than happy to discuss any of it with you.
The chair acknowledges Ms. Sternley.
Good morning. Quickly, how you doing? As you're going through is there, and this might be unfair because it's spur of the moment, was there an example that just popped out into your mind that this really does not need to be there, just that glowing example? I know you're going through it basically page by page, but is there anything that kind of like jumped out that you can give us kind of like an idea of what we're looking at?
Sure. One thing that actually I have seen in other charters but is never recommended is they have a section, it's section 1-15, and it's election and term compensation. So it has listed the clerk of superior court and state court, solicitor of state court, district attorney, and so on. And then they list their monetary value of their salary. So it says 90,000, 90,000, 90,000. And usually how it's done in charters for positions is it says as provided by ordinance. Because if you put in here, it's $90,000, and let's say, a lot of these salaries are set forth by the legislature. So if it changes, your chart, you're gonna have to go and do, change your charter in order to fix this. It's just usually much easier to fix an ordinance. Otherwise, you'd be going in constantly to fix that sort of thing. There were some that were, like I said, verbatim from the Georgia Constitution. That is the law. You don't need to cite it verbatim in your charter. I'm trying to think of some other ones I've seen. Do you remember any other, Macy, off the top of your head? Macy and I and Belle have spent a lot of time, and some of it has changed. Some of it's in conflict with what state law is as it stands, because there are portions of the charter that are from 95, 71, 50, I think it was 4, that it still stand as it was then, and it's just that the legislature has changed the laws in the state. Oh, yes, and for instance in here, and I learned something new. I was unaware of any jurisdiction, but there happen to be, I think, 3 or 4, that have civil courts, which are the courts that were set up by the legislature for this particular jurisdiction. But however, in the same section, in that section, you would then have your civil court, and you would have any kind of municipal court. But those are the only courts you would have in the charter. You wouldn't have the state court. You wouldn't have the superior court in here, because that's all done by the state. You have no control over that. So that should be extracted from the charter. Things like that. Were there any other big things you can think of? No? So, when we're going through, we will leave in the civil court and the municipal court, but we'll take out the others. And those are huge chunks. When we went through here and looked at it, there are pages and pages, if you so choose, that can be taken out. And I think that would be easier also for the public to just have this framework that it's a little more elaborate than what you got on your page, but I think it will be much clearer for the public as well to understand what the government can and can't do in Augusta, Richmond County, what they are set up to do, what is the balance of powers, what is the structure. It will be a lot clearer to them. I would think that reading through a 150-page document might be a little overwhelming for the common citizen, but I don't know. I know before I started doing this, it would have been.
Is there more to your presentation?
No, but there is a demographics presentation.
And we would like to hear that. Now, may I ask you before you move away, have been speaking with the commissioners about the request to go ahead and highlight different things, and if that is possible to receive if it's already color-coded and highlighted and shareable, that would be wonderful to get that in a PDF form.
Right, I think Macy will be able to give you what we saw as some of the language that came out,
Excellent.
The anticipatory language, and also language. Was there something that said as of like 1937, after something date 1937, we're going to take that out. So, yeah, we
Very
certainly
good.
can.
And that should be able to be publicly shareable as well?
Any document, is sunshine laws in Georgia, any document of this commission, anybody can ask for.
Very good.
Okay.
Mr. Powell, it looks like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're not
I did
gonna
not
get-
mean to turn my back on you. I apologize.
You're not going to get away that quick.
Can I counter?
In the charter,
Yes.
there are, and I believe the state government creates authorities.
Yes.
And so we have absolutely no control over, other than the appointment of people on those charters.
I usually see I've seen
Authority.
them in charters, but I usually see it in ordinances more. And something to think about, which is not your concern, but if we extract some of this stuff from the charter, that would be left up to the commission to then enact them as ordinances if they're not already in there. But I've also seen areas when I've gone and looked at the ordinance where it's in the charter, it's in the ordinances. And just so that you know, the charter supersedes the ordinance. So if there's any conflict right now, that could cause confusion too. Because the charter should supersede, preempt, where they, if it's the exact same thing that they are focusing on, for lack of a better word. And the ordinances, just like state law preempts Augusta, the Constitution of the United States would preempt some legislation, potentially, depending on if someone challenged it. So that would have to be looked at too, but that's not under what I was contracted to do. But that's going to take a long time for them to do, probably.
So can you confirm authorities are created by state enabling legislation, not locally
Ones I have
created?
seen, yes.
Thank you.
I'm not saying there's not some strange authority out there that I don't know about, but.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, any other questions? We good?
I think we are.
All right, well, let me know if you do have any other questions. We're here to
we'll
help.
follow up. Thank you. Appreciate you doing all that on such a compressed timeline as well,
Oh, no, that's
as I know you've been living with that charter for the last 7 to 10 days. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Hi, good morning. So I think I've met mostly everybody, but so I'm Belle Tolmich. I'm a research professional at the Carl Vinson Institute. And so we wanted to kind of walk you guys through some of the district maps and their demographic breakdown, as well as the voting districts and their demographic breakdowns. Oh, sorry, thank you. All right, so first here we've got just the regular breakdown of the commission districts. So this is going to be the 8 commission districts that the Augusta-Richmond County has. Then this one is a little bit confusing to me, at least. So this is the voting districts overlaid on top of the commission districts. So the commission districts are going to be the solid lines, the darker ones, and the voting districts are broken up kind of within that. Macy is going to talk a little bit later about the voting districts. And then these are the super districts. So we've got District 9 and District 10 as your super districts. And then again, just a little show of the voting districts overlaid on top of these super districts here. So we're going to start kind of looking at the super districts, and we're looking at populations of age 18 and over. We're going to be breaking it down by racial and ethnic groups. And just to kind of give some context, so Augusta-Richmond County has 206,607 people. Each of the commission districts are approximately 26,000. That's kind of the ideal number. And each of the super districts that we're going to look at is approximately 103,000 in all. But it's about 70 to 79% of these districts are 18 and over. So that's kind of the numbers that we're looking at here. So again, just another reminder. So for District 9, just to give a little bit of terminology as well. So on the census, in order to differentiate between race and ethnicity, you do see this NH in front of some of the races. So NH stands for non-Hispanic, and so we've got the Hispanic category, non-Hispanic Asian, non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, and then the non-Hispanic other category is going to include groups of 2 or more races, Polynesian, Pacific Islanders, North African, Middle Eastern groups, and so there's just a lot of different, if it doesn't fall in one of those categories, it's going to fall in the other one. So for District 9 here, we do, a majority non-Hispanic black community. It is going to be almost 2/3 of the population. And as we'll see in a second, it does have a little bit of a higher Hispanic population as well compared to District 10. So for District 10, it is definitely a little bit more of an even split. It's about that 44% non-Hispanic white and 43% non-Hispanic black. This does have a larger Asian population as well as a larger non-Hispanic other population, as well as a larger white population. So then moving into the commission districts, we're going to break them down one by one of the 8 districts and see their breakups as well. Another reminder of each of the 8 districts that we'll be looking at. So District 1, this is going to be, we're looking about 20,000 people is kind of what we're looking at. It's about 78% of this district is going to be 18 and over. And so this is a majority non-Hispanic black district, similar to District 9, which it does fall under Super District 9. So it's kind of mimicking that kind of same breakdown. It has a decently small Hispanic population as well as Asian and other population, and then this over 25% non-Hispanic white population is a little bit different than we saw in District 9. So for District 2, we're looking about 75% of the population being 18 and over. This is also a majority non-Hispanic black district with, again, almost 2/3 of the district being majority black, and it has a smaller Asian population, but a larger Hispanic population than we saw in the previous district. So for District 3, this one is where we see a little bit of a change up. We're looking at about 81% of this population as being 18 and over. This is almost an identical breakdown of the non-Hispanic black and non-Hispanic white populations. This district is in District 10, which if we remember what we were looking at before, this is kind of similar to what we saw with the Super District 10, that it is more of an even split between non-Hispanic white and non-Hispanic black. It's almost an identical split there. And it does have a larger Asian and other population, but it is a smaller Hispanic population. So for District 4, this is about 76% of the population we're looking at in District 4 that's over 18 and over. The most noteworthy part of this district, in my opinion, is that this is the largest Hispanic district. So we do have 9.27% of this district being Hispanic. It's still a majority non-Hispanic black population, a little bit smaller than we've been seeing, but this is the largest Hispanic population. And this is also the smallest non-Hispanic white population, with under 20% being non-Hispanic white. So for District 5, this one is our largest non-Hispanic black population, with almost 70% of the district being non-Hispanic black. It's about 76% of this district is what we're looking at, of the 18 and over population. And as we're seeing kind of this breakdown of the Hispanic, Asian, and other populations, it's kind of similar to what we've been seeing, this like 5% range for Hispanic, 1 to 2% for Asian, 4 to 5% for other. So it's a similar breakdown there that we've been seeing, but it is the largest non-Hispanic black population. District 6 is very similar as well to what we've been seeing. Again, this almost two-thirds majority non-Hispanic black, around the 20% for the non-Hispanic white, and like I broke down earlier, just kind of those same percentages we're seeing with the Hispanic, non-Hispanic, Asian, and other populations. This actually is also the least amount of 18 and over people, with 74% of the population being age 18 and over, so this would be the least amount that we looked at. District 7 is where we see a decent switch up to what we've been looking at. So this is a majority non-Hispanic white population. Another noteworthy part of this is the largest non-Hispanic Asian population as well, with the 3.65%. And it is the smallest non-Hispanic black population at 29.75%. This is also the district with the most people over 18 and over. We've got 83.22% of people 18 and over in this district. And it is going to be that 56% non-Hispanic white. And then as for our last district, 8, this one is also going to look a little bit similar to District 7 in that it is a majority non-Hispanic white population. We're looking at about 77.9% of the population being 18 and over. This one's most noteworthy part too is that this is the largest other category that we see. So it is 6.8%. And like I said, that can kind of be a whole range of things if people identify with 2 or more races, ethnicities, or any of those other groups that aren't mentioned here. But this is the largest other population that we see. And now I'm actually going to pass it over to Macy Lane, and she's going to talk a little bit about the voting district breakdown. Thank you.
Right. Hello. Good to see everyone again. I'm Macy Lane Smith, and Belle just did a great job of discussing the commission districts. I'm going to talk about the voting districts within Augusta, Richmond County. And again, just a few reminders. Some of those dark lines that we've been seeing on the map before, I'm going to talk about those lighter lines, the voting districts. But similar to the commission districts, they have to be roughly the same size and population. So there are some areas that are quite large and some that are quite small, but all have about the same population within. So first we have the non-Hispanic Asian group. According to the 2020 decennial census, about 1.93% of Augusta Richmond County was Asian. And so this map kind of shows the voting district areas where they're most concentrated, but still a pretty small percentage of the Augusta Richmond County group overall. Next, we have the non-Hispanic Black population within Augusta Richmond County. Again, voting districts are divided up by population. So if you can see this far right area that's a lot darker, it's a pretty large area, but within that also contains the airport and some industrial areas. So the concentration of population, again, they're the same for each area, but kind of spread out depending on location. According to the 2020 decennial census, 55.2% of Augusta Richmond County's population is African American. The Hispanic population here accounts for 5.6% of Augusta Richmond County's overall population. You can see the concentration here. And then the non-Hispanic white racial group within Augusta Richmond County, you can see the concentrations kind of line up with the commission districts here, as non-Hispanic whites account for 35.5% of Augusta Richmond County's overall population, with concentrations in the kind of southern area that's darker there and the northern area. And that is our presentation.
Thank you, ladies. Mr. Coleman.
Question, we're looking at 8 districts and 2 super districts. That's 10 commissioners. Other consolidated governments or governments that are presently representing about the same size population of Augusta, Richmond County, how many commissioners seats do they have on an average? And do we have a lot more than those?
That is a good question. We currently don't have that information available, but we can look through that and get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Wimberly.
We'll get it right. You talked about, actually, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, no worries.
Because she got my name wrong. Those slides you just put up,
Yes, sir.
would they be made available to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
You open it up with a statement that the ideal number represented by the commission at about 25,000. Where do you come up with that ideal number?
So it's broken down, so it's the entire population, and they're trying to make the commission districts as equal as possible. So they're trying to create them in a way so that there's roughly the same amount of people in each of the districts, so it's...
So your ideal number is based on what exists in Richmond County now?
Inside Augusta, Richmond County now, yes.
Not necessarily the ideal number of...
In general, in the
represent-
world. Yeah.
Okay then, thank you.
Ladies, you did a wonderful job. Thank you very
Madam
much.
Chair, I do have one question.
Yes, Dr. McCorn.
Just for informational purposes, I think it helps us look at the big picture. Concept of super districts and how common this is and what really is the driving force for creating super districts. How might that impact some of these other factors?
Yes, we'll let Mr. Freeze
Pass that over to Rex.
So I could tell that I was getting knowing glances as you started to ask that question. The issue of super districts is a little more common in the South, and it is in part due to kind of trying to balance racial opportunities. But that is not the only reason that it happens. There are other parts of the country that have super districts as well, but it does tend to be a little more common, here in the South. And whether or not the challenge with in the West, for example, we see, rather than super districts, we see completely at-large elected um, you know, council members in some communities. And the balance is trying to figure out who should they represent. Should they represent their district, or should they represent the community as a whole? And that's a philosophical question to a large extent. And there isn't necessarily a right answer, but what has historically driven the super districts has been making sure that the community has greater opportunities for representation.
A follow-up question. Is there a formula for the creation of super districts? I know it's based on what each municipality decides, but for us, can you tell
So why 2 versus 3 or 4?
And the composition of the district itself?
So the composition of the district, so the why 2 versus 4, I don't know. There isn't necessarily a formula that drives that really it was kind of probably historically a political decision that seemed like about the right number. But in terms of how it gets divided up, that's simple math. You simply take the census population and you divide it by the number of districts or super districts. And so, as Bell mentioned, the population is roughly 206,000. So,
And these are the super districts here.
yeah, and then the super districts are essentially just made up of the individual districts, combined together. But they have to do it in a way that's contiguous, and so that you can't take one area in the north, combine it with an area in the south if they're not connected. So there's a lot behind trying to draw those district boundaries, and that's what the reapportionment office spends a fair amount of their time doing. So.
Thank you. Ms. Turnley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This might be an incident where maybe former Commissioner Hassan can speak to this, because you were an active commissioner when redistricting happened. And I remember some of the horror shows that occurred trying to make sure that the districts were racially somewhat balanced and equal as far as connecting, again, as Rex said, contiguous and that kind of thing. Can you speak to that very briefly?
Probably got 2 better experts between these 2 gentlemen here, but my position would be, they was trying to, when they created this charter, they was trying to make a 5-5, and they want that representation to be, so you had 4 black commissioners naturally, 4 white commissioners naturally. Then the super districts come into play, and they wanted to make sure white, black, black, white. And so what they did, they created 1, 2, 4, and 5. Became Super District 9. Those were majority black districts. And you had 3, 6, 7, and 8 were majority white districts. The first time that changed was when Matt Aiken became, by election, in 2010, I think it was. Then you had 6-4 white to black. And then it changed again in 2014 when I became a commissioner. It flipped back. Now, it went 5-5 back when Bill Flournoy was elected, became 5-5. He defeated Matt Aiken. Then when I came on board, it became 6-4 the other way in 2014. But that was always about trying to make it racial parity at that particular time. But the population just outgrew that. The racial makeup just outgrew that.
One thing, so the population outgrew that, and please correct me if I'm wrong. That's where during this last census and the last redistricting, where District 3 and District 5 ended up looking so different than they were before. Am I correct in that?
Yes, and when we done the census, you had, and this is for everybody to understand who I was on that, you had 4 commissioners, 4 school board members, and 4 legislative persons on that board. And what we did when we started, the Board of Elections sent down an original map of the census. We didn't touch it. We went around, and when the public saw it, they were outraged. We told them, hey, we ain't touching nothing. We went around the public meeting. We ain't touched a thing. And then we came back, And we did in here, we wrestled about 3 maps, but every time you move one thing, you know, it's a domino effect. So we end up sending it back just like it was sent to us. Didn't touch it based on population, and there it was. Everybody wanted to succeed from Richmond County. Thank you.
Mr. Coleman?
I had a question for Mr. Hassan. Thank you for educating us on the makeup and everything. And I already knew exactly what you said and everything, but my question to you is, at this present time, the way the population demographics are in Augusta, Richmond County, do you think that we need a super district 9 and 10?
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you explain to me why?
If you look at a small county right next to you, Burke County, 25,000 people. City government, county government, when you combine those persons, there's more than 10 people right next to you. And so as you go to other places, you go to Chatham County, city government, so collectively, there are more, even though they're not consolidated. So you're basing it all on consolidated government. But when you look at governments in particular, local, because we have the luxury of being dual government. We're municipality and we're county government. But we are to act and operate as a municipality. What that does for us is give us an opportunity to get federal money out of 2 pots.
Okay. Thank you.
Lonnie, you wanted to speak, or I'm going to? Very good. All right. The chair acknowledges Reverend.
I just want to clarify something. We're talking about the super district, and I served for 2 terms at a super district. When you got a super district, you really got 2 commissioners. Most people don't even understand that. But the super district just don't work outside by himself. He works with the super district 9. I think Commissioner Hassan told you it was District 2, 4, and 6, I believe it is. But yeah, 1, 2, 4, and 5. But those areas, the super district is responsible for that area as well. So when you start off, if you got an issue that's important that you need to address, you should start off with at least 2 commissioners anyway, because the super district on both sides work with those other parties.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate that. All right, are there any other comments? All right, excellent. All right, at this time, I'm going to start with Dr. McCorn. We had requested via email 3 questions of each commissioner, and this was after the rehash meeting we have every Monday after these meetings with Carl Vinson. The committee members were asked to please respond anonymously to strip personality out. It was designed to elicit the most honest, no agendas kind of answers. And you just go ahead and, if you would, we're going to pass an envelope down the line so everybody can place their results in there, and then Mr. Wimberly is going to give it to Dr. Facer. All right, very good. And thank you all for taking the time, because I know everybody has put a lot of time and thought into their responses. Marvin, before he left town, shipped his over. I just very, very pleased with the way that went.
If we didn't get one back from somebody in time, can we still email it to Dr. Facer?
Yes, and that's an excellent point, too. I'm aware of at least one of our members that did not receive in the email the questionnaire, the survey, until pretty late, and I have explained that it'd be perfectly acceptable and have given them Dr. Facer's email to directly send their commentary that way. The point was to get very honest feedback on what their objectives are in this process, what is working, what is not working, and what fears do you have about the process. And then you just go ahead and seal that up, Lonnie, and we'll be all set. Thank you all for the many hours you put into capturing this information so that we could utilize this to streamline the process. Under old business, before we finish, I think firstly, I was under the mistaken understanding that we had adopted our policy as it relates to public comments. And our wonderful clerk set me straight on that pretty quick, and I have asked our city attorney, who had volunteered to clarify this. I think the common understanding was that we were going to adopt exactly what the county commission operates as, for clarity's sake. So I think if I can turn it over to Mr. Plunkett, he's put some time and developed Chair acknowledges Mr. Plunkett.
Madam Chair, I have a set of rules from 2022, which is the rule of procedures of the Augusta Commission. What I did is, somewhat as Ms. Brill said, some things may not be relevant to this body. For instance, ordinance adoption, things of that nature. What I did is I went through and just took those 22 versions and then put them in terms of the Charter Review Committee. There was a couple of things that I did not know if this body wanted to do, and I'll be happy to circulate this, but there was some discussion with Ms. Bonner about the lead time to have matters to be put before the body, so those are blank. There was, I know that we had discussed 3 minutes, 5 minutes for public debate, or comment, I should say, so that's just kind of a blank there. But what I would like to do is just maybe circulate this through Ms. Bonner, this draft of those, and I think that way she can make them available to the public. But it's just basically, most of it really has a lot to do with motion making, because that's a fairly big part of the county commission. I thought it was appropriate to leave that in there as well. But that's basically what I've done is taken those and have that as a draft. So I could more than happy circulate as a hard copy, but I think most everybody on this board is electronic, and I'm send it through that way.
Okay. Ms. Backus.
Maybe I'm a little bit behind and I'm not catching up with what you're saying. If we're addressing public comment, what does that have to do with us making motions?
Well, the rules of procedure, you have the bylaws, which is kind of like the overall arching for operational, but then the procedurals are more like, how does the meeting itself work? So what I was doing was, the county commission rules of procedure talk about, what the chair does, the vice chair when the absence of the chair, debate, decorum of the body, if someone needs to be called out of order, a motion that's made, a substitute motion. So that's all kind of in the procedural rules. This body has adopted Robert's rules as their procedural rules, but we've also talked about, should this be very similar to how the commission meets and operates? And so that's why I use those procedural rules there. So it's just how this committee would operate is how the rules of procedure come into play.
So before it's given to Ms. Bonner and distributed to the public, should we not first, as the committee, have a chance to review them in order to decide if we want to make changes?
I said that I was going to deliver it to Ms. Bonner to distribute to the committee.
Oh, I thought you had said public. Okay, that's why I was like.
But the part of it is that this is also a public body, so they would be the public would be entitled to the draft.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we would have an opportunity to read it before it was like, this is what we're doing.
I anticipate that as soon as we distribute it out there, there'll be an open records request for it. So just making practical issues there. But they're fairly, as I said, that they mirror the county commission rules substantially.
Thank you. Mr. Wimberly.
Just for clarity on what this whole conversation was about, was your comment was based off when do we allow the public to speak? Am I correct?
That was a motion we passed last meeting.
So what was it that the clerk cleared up for you?
I thought we had passed the entire thing, time limits, all of the above, and that was not the case. She's exactly right, as always.
So
So this, what we had discussed prior, has been added to by Mr. Plunkett to give us the overarching framework by which the county commission operates. And I think he's recommending that we make his,
well, this is the framework, and
for
I did
consideration of the charter, but not procedurally.
I did the nerd thing. I read both the charter and the rules of procedures. So my question is, I thought we did vote on
I thought the
with
same.
a 5-minute limit for the public going first. So what was wrong with that?
It was discussed, but it was not put in the motion, and that was, Ms. Bonner is excruciatingly correct about that. We can tackle that today if you'd like, or we could defer it to the next meeting, take a look at this other, and then make the motion at the next meeting. Whatever this body decides is the way to proceed.
Well, does the body object to just tackle it now? So when our next meeting, when the
We'll have it
public
ready.
comes in, they already know what the procedures are?
All right, no worries. I think if that's the case, then it would take a motion to do so. Mr. Plunkett?
There were two issues also from last week. One was the frequency of meetings, and that was a bylaw issue. And then in the bylaws, we have kind of the order of the meeting. And so that was also a change to the bylaws, that the public comment would go to the front. So those two matters were addressed, and I have incorporated those into your bylaws. And when I send this to Ms. Bonner, I'll send those documents with you. There was a discussion about the 5 minutes, which is more of a procedural issue. And so that's when y'all were talking about starting to talk procedure. That's why I went and got the county procedural rules to kind of put them into a document that y'all could review and I'll use the word loosely, debate. Hopefully there's not a lot of debate over it, but just something for y'all to follow or to look at as a guide.
Very good. Mr. Wimberly, does that answer that question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Would you prefer today to put in the time limits so that we have that architecture in place for the next meeting? Is your preference to deal with the speaker's time limit today so that we have that in place for the next meeting?
I think that will be a more efficient way to manage it, because if we don't, then that's one of the first orders you have to take care of when you meet. And then you will have some members, public members that may have came and did not know have the procedure did not know what the procedure were in order to get before you. So all I'm asking now is, and I don't think it requires a procedure change based off the commissioner procedural rules. It's just our procedure when we want the public to appear. It was in our document, so all we would be doing is voting on it.
Okay, will you put that in the form of a motion, please?
Giving me work, huh?
That's right.
I move that we go ahead and adopt the procedure of allowing the public at the beginning of our meeting to make comments, and those comments are to last no longer than 5 minutes, minus questions.
A second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
So does this mean, oh, I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, you can speak. Thank you, Virginia.
So does this mean what Mr. Plunkett did, we won't review it at all and discuss it at all?
I would hope that we would still review it, and if we determine there's anything that we should address, we'll take that up in the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If there are no further comments, please cast your votes.
Could you please go over that again?
So, Ms. Lena?
Mr. Wimberly, would you please repeat that, sir?
I move that we place at the beginning of the meeting the opportunity for the public to address this body with a 5-minute limit, minus questions.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, please cast your votes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, I believe that dispatches with everything under old business. Moving into new business, I want to let this body know of two things that you probably did not know about. The first one involves one of our committee members who, in the last 10 days, has been the recipient of the Augusta Bar Association's Liberty Bell Award. And it's a plum. I think back to one time I was there, and Justine, and I'm having a senior moment, that won that award, and it was her husband. Her husband was a great guy. Now, who am I thinking of, Lena? Pardon? Yes, Ike and Justine Washington, exactly. So, heady group to be part of, and congratulations are due to you for your community work. And I thought everybody should know this. Angela Backus. And then secondly, if this body would be made aware of, Mr. Wimberly has for 2.5 decades at least, maybe longer, kept a group of neighborhoods together on the south side. He has his second to the last summer meeting on June 7th at 9 a.m. at the Henry Brigham Center. And if you are so inclined and would like to attend to see how that works, it's an excellent organization for keeping the community involved.
At the Jamestown Community Center.
Oh, Jamestown, okay.
We will move to Henry Brigham in August. Jamestown Community
I see.
Center.
So Jamestown for the June 7th meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Well, I'll remember to stick that in an email to you so that if you did want to come here, it's a good place to receive community feedback. Along those lines, may I ask each of the committee, we've had discussions behind the scenes, how do we let the public understand and know when we're scheduling public hearings, when our meetings are and so forth? How do we communicate in the absence of a really good functioning local newspaper that we don't have anymore, a print newspaper? We have the Augusta Press, we have the 3 network channels that cover this body. Angela has a wonderful series of venues that we could put the word out. Lonnie's group is an example of that as well. But if you would please give some thought to groups that we could put on a master broadcast list to let them know of things, that would be very helpful. Churches, neighborhoods, organizations you belong to, some means of letting people know about these things. Mr. Coleman.
This is a little bit off the subject, but at the end of every meeting, and I like the news media, but a lot of us are basically asked to give comments. And I think it'd be more professional if we had one spokesperson for the groups to show that we're united and we're on the same page and working for goals for the citizens of Augusta. And I would ask if we could somehow let the chairperson be our spokesperson or her designee or the vice chair. And instead of each one of us having to give comments and stuff, I think it would be a lot better, and it would be easier for us to work together, that where we're not divided on different comments and thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wimberly.
That's a good point, but I think that robs the individuals of their own speaking idea. It's not necessarily that they're speaking for the committee, they're speaking their ideas, and each one should be allowed to do that now. I do agree that if you want to set the official tone, that it should be the chairman, but I don't think any member should be barred from speaking to the public or the press.
All right, Mr. Coleman.
That wasn't my intent for that. I just want to speak as one voice, and I just think it would be better if people's different ideas and thoughts in different directions wouldn't be played out in the public like that, and it would cause dissension amongst us, and it would impact what we need to be doing on this committee, and that's reviewing the charter and doing the people's business.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Ms. Bacchus?
Unpopular opinion probably, but I think if the media is asking for an official statement from our committee, then absolutely I think that is the chair who should speak on our behalf as a whole. But if I or you are asked a specific question by them, then they're asking my opinion. They're not asking about what this committee is doing. And I think we need to be really careful too. Like, we've already got this no phone thing, no communication, which I understand where that stems from, but we also have to acknowledge that influence happens out there too. So we're not actually preventing anything. So we're just gonna keep adding restrictions on, but we're not actually gonna make any progress with those restrictions, because I know George's wife. I could just talk to her, and then she talks to George, and then he's got a quote, you know what I mean? So, I don't think we're gonna prevent, I don't think that's a road, that's a slippery slope. I don't think we wanna go there. That's just my opinion.
All right, is there a motion, Mr. Coleman?
It wasn't in the form of a motion.
All
I
right.
was just trying to make us look more functional, not dysfunctional.
All right. Does anyone wish to make a motion to that effect, one way or the other? All right, let's let it go then.
Madam Chair,
Sir?
okay. I would like the motion to designate the chairperson and the vice chair as the spokespersons for the committee.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
So that was Mr. Pearson moving and Mr. Powell seconding?
Can we clarify something?
Sure, but hang on 1 second, let's go in order.
Before you vote, Madam Chair, just to be sure that it is understood that is to have any official comment is made by the chair or the vice chair, but that is not in any way intended to prevent someone having the right to speak to anyone, whether media or not. So I just want to make sure everybody understood the free speech aspect of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
I do have
Mr.
similar
Boucher.
concerns, and I appreciate you sharing that. I don't want there to be a perception that we're limiting comment to two individuals. I think the public and Mr. Todd and Mr. Williams and Mr. Hassan would all appreciate being able to hear from other individuals on that subject. And I speak for myself on this issue when I say I think that's a slippery slope that we're reserving that for two individuals.
Okay, Mr. Wimberly?
Agree.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. That doesn't come into play right now. There's a motion on the floor. Ms. Bonner, could you please read that back to us?
Yes, ma'am. Motion made by Mr. Rod Powell, second by Clarence Powell, to designate the chair and vice chair to be the official spokesperson for the Charter Review Committee.
All right, Mr. Pearson?
Just correction. Just want to make sure it's Pearson.
Pierce.
Not Powell, but Pearson.
Pearson, Mr. Powell seconded, that's right. And Ms. Virginia, you had one question before
No,
we
Mr.
vote.
Powell seconded. That's what.
Yes, so it's my understanding, anybody can speak to the press, but any official word that comes out from this committee will be spoken by the chair or the vice chair.
I believe that's the intent of it, but also please be aware, as Mr. Plunkett explained, you have ample opportunity to speak in public. You can call your own meetings in your districts to inform people where you live. There's no barring on any of that. There is no attempt to stifle people's opinions. It's just a question of streamlining and funneling what occurs in the 2 hours we're here for each meeting. It makes it easier for our committee to move forward and stay focused on our work as opposed to getting in a sparring missing match one way or the other. Mr. Wimberly?
Okay. to join with Miss Virginia here. If we walk out of here after this meeting, are we saying that no one can speak to the press except and clarify the motion so the motion know that my freedom of speech is not infringed on? Clarify the motion.
Mr. Pearson, can you clarify the motion?
No, we definitely don't want to restrict anyone's freedom of speech, and the motion is to designate the chairperson and the vice chair as the spokespersons, but if there's anyone else who's been asked a question by the media, we're good as far as my motion goes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It is. Thank you. All right, let's see. I think that's it unless are there any other comments on this or questions? It's an attempt to handle our business today and set it up for the next 2 weeks, and then you are wide open to run through the streets, take out billboards, call a press conference. There is no attempt to restrict. It's just, having chaired a pretty big committee before, I know that when various numbers run out and make comments and blah, 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 you spend the next 80% of your week putting out fires that didn't have to be set. And that it's just a request. All right? Everybody, please cast your votes.
That motion carries 9-1 with Ms. Baker voting no.
It's okay. I know. Oh, no worries. Thank you all. If there is there any other business that we should be settling this particular meeting?
Only a motion to end the meeting.
Okay, can I? Yes, and we'll get to that just 1 second. This is directed toward the Carl Vinson Institute. It is your intention to review the survey responses, continue to refine the charter, Ms. Brill, and then when you're ready to have that sent out, which can happen between meetings for evaluation, your intention is to make the May 29th meeting surrounding the goals and concerns of this committee going forward. So that will be the major agenda item for the May 29th meeting, just so everybody's aware of where we're going with this. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
By acclamation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So moved.
All right, thank you, hon. Ms. Bonner.
Yes, ma'am. No, I just said,
Oh, question from the floor, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Dan, can you come up to the mic, please?
Ms. Bonner.
My name's Dan Funch. I reside at 2301 Allen Avenue. How will the public get to see this document with the highlighting prior to the next time you all convene?
As soon as we get it, it will go to Ms. Bonner. Ms. Bonner will post it to the website under the Charter Review Committee.
Thank you.
And the public will be able to have full access to it.
Perfect.
Thank you for that question. All right, anyone else? Motion to adjourn? Mr. Powell, motion. Ms. Virginia?
I second it.
All right. Ms. Cody seconded. All in favor, please cast your vote.
It's unanimous.
Good job, guys.
Mr. Wimberly, you were lucky.